Welcome to this week's Midweek Meditation. We've had a couple of big once-in-a-lifetime events just recently. First of all, of course, we had the coronation, with people lining the streets and many millions glued to their TV screens. Then we had Eurovision in Liverpool. This also involved crowds of people, parties, and large numbers watching it on television. When I was thinking about it, it made me wonder why so many people want to get involved, and I came to the conclusion that at the root of it lies our need to belong. We like to be part of something, and we don't like to think we are missing out. The need to belong is part of being human. In the 17th century, the poet John Donne wrote, "No man is an island entire of itself. Every man is a piece of the continent, a part of the main." It was true hundreds of years ago, and the same is true today. Humans are not designed to live in isolation. We are designed to belong. That is why we live in families, join clubs, meet up with friends. It is part of the reason that many of us come to church. The church is God's family, and we can all belong. God is our loving Father, the one who accepts us, cares for us, forgives us. One of the best-known stories in the New Testament is the story of the lost son, or prodigal son, in Luke chapter 15, beginning at verse 11. The younger son wanted his share of the family money now, and then went on to waste it in reckless living. He was ashamed of what he had done and expected his father to be angry. He hoped that his father would at least give him some paid work so that he could feed himself. But it tells us in verse 20, he was still a long way from home when his father saw him. His heart was filled with pity, and he ran, threw his arms around his son and kissed him. It sounds like the ending to a Hollywood movie, and shows us very clearly that we belong to God, and whatever we have done, we can always come home. But we also feel a need to belong to other people. We have an epidemic of loneliness in this country, and in many other countries as well. Doctors tell us that loneliness is the root cause of many illnesses, both physical and mental. And it isn't just older people who suffer in this way. Many younger people talk about not fitting in and not feeling connected with those around them. Social media and things like Zoom can be very useful tools in linking us up with friends and family who don't live nearby. But they can also work as a negative force and make people feel even more isolated from those around them. If we go back to the story of the lost son, the father orders a great feast to celebrate the younger son's return. But not everyone is happy. We read that the elder son, who has worked faithfully for his father, was so angry he would not go into the house. He had always done the right thing, and he couldn't understand why his father was so willing to welcome his brother. He didn't want to reconnect with him, but wanted him to remain isolated from the family unit. The father explains to him that it doesn't mean that he is not valued, but on this occasion it was time to celebrate, because your brother was dead, but now he is alive. He was lost, but now he has been found. I think there is a challenge in the second part of the story for all of us who are Christians. Secretly, a lot of us sympathise with the elder son and can understand why he is upset. But it is not up to us to decide who belongs to God's family. Another very famous verse is John chapter 3 verse 16. For God loved the world so much that he gave his only Son, so that everyone who believes in him may not die, but have eternal life. This means that all are welcome, and so we must be welcoming too. And how does this link with loneliness? Firstly, we have a message to share with others that speaks of God's love and how they too can reconnect with Him. But secondly, we need to be more aware of others around us who may be feeling isolated. It isn't always obvious, and it requires a bit of effort, but it is part of Jesus' command in Luke chapter 10 verse 27 to love your neighbour as you love yourself. Christians have always been at the forefront of current social issues. In the past, they were involved in the abolition of slavery and the establishing of schools for all, amongst other things. Today, many Christians are involved in countless charities that address many areas of need, like poverty and addiction. Loneliness is another one of those problems, and it is something that isn't always given the attention it deserves. Perhaps today we can all pray for God to show us one person who is lonely and ask Him to show us how best we can help them. It may not seem like very much, but I think it is a good place to start. I hope you have a good week.